actually a wonderful experience for us to have Paolo here. We've been working with Paolo for a long, long time. And let me introduce you to this collaboration that 1Mby1M has had with Oracle for now 5 years. That's saying a lot to have a long, successful collaboration that started with a minuscule project at Oracle, and then today we are doing an enormous amount of work. So Paolo Juvara is Group Vice President at Oracle Applications Lab, and there's a whole team around Paolo that we work with, and we kind of designed, on 1Mby1M designed its entire Incubator-in-a-Box platform based on the original experiment that Paolo, Vinay Deshmukh, Susan Hoffman, and Maureen and I, and we started doing in 2013. So we just kind of, I think Vinay heard me speak at some MIT event and came to me and was like, hey, so I see what you're doing. Is there something we can do together at Oracle? And then Vinay went to Paolo and said, oh, I heard Shramana speak, and Paolo and I had already known each other when Paolo was running Open Bravo, which is an open source software company. So it was an incredibly interesting, organic experience of a group of people coming together and just brainstorming and creating a program. So it's been really delightful. Today we want to share some of what we have learned, what we have done, how we think about internal innovation at Oracle. So the way we run this program today is twice a year we have Oracle 1Mby1M Entrepreneurship Challenges inside Oracle. And this is a program that is open to all of Oracle. And we invite people to apply for scholarships to study with the 1Mby1M program to learn how to take an idea, flesh out an idea, validate an idea, develop the business case for that idea, and then present it to Oracle for consideration as a potential, new product idea or a new module within an existing product area and so on and so forth, but with the primary objective of developing people and teaching them how to bring a product to market, all the way from idea to business case development. So let me actually turn it over to Paolo to explain to you from his point of view what he thinks we are doing here and what are the goals and objectives of the Corporate Innovation Program at Oracle.
Yes, absolutely. So as Ramana said, this was a very interesting story. So a bit of background on me. I started my career at Oracle, and I spent, I think, the first 14 years of my career at Oracle. And then I left and I went and worked for the company that Ramana mentioned, Open Bravo, where I initially was the head of product development, and then I became the CEO. And I first met Ramana when she interviewed me as part of that experience. So she interviewed me as an entrepreneur in a startup. And then later on, I joined back Oracle in my current role. And one of the first things that have been told to me was that Vinay, who was part of my team, had been in touch with Ramana and was kind of considering a program. And knowing Ramana's, knowing her reputation, I was immediately interested. And the reason why I was immediately interested was because having spent a lot of time in my previous experience at Oracle, I knew that Oracle was a very, very strong engineering organization. A lot of people at Oracle, in particular in product development, I'm part of the product development organization, particularly in product development, know how to develop products. But then when you go in and work in a startup and you are in an organization that does not have as many resources as Oracle, you learn that just having a great product is not enough. You really need to learn the product market fit. You need to learn how to pitch the product. You need to know the addressable market. You need to know all of the things that the 1Mby1M program teaches. And so I thought it was, and I was very intrigued by the fact that we could give that experience and the exposures to those problematics and to those teams to employees in the company, so that they really could gain those set of skills, and they could complement their traditional strong engineering skills. Now, I'm not saying that Oracle doesn't do total addressable market analysis, doesn't do competitive analysis, doesn't do customer relation. Of course, Oracle does all that for its established products, but that is done by a minority of people. And the broad population of engineers or product managers within the company really aren't that exposed to those activities. And the 1Mby1M program was, for me, an opportunity to really expose people to those activities. And so we really looked at the 1Mby1M program as an educational program, really a way to complement the skills that people naturally acquire within the company with other skills that are not readily available within Oracle. And that is why we have been, we started that. Of course, there is the 1Mby1M is a very hands-on program. People attend the classes, and then they work on an idea, they develop an idea, they develop a pitch on that idea, and that idea might or might not become part of Oracle products and part of Oracle product roadmaps. And we have some cases where it did, and many cases where it didn't. And that is another benefit. But the real goal really is the educational opportunity for employees.
So, let's double-click down on how we have evolved the program a bit, because when we started, the application process involved people presenting their ideas, very seminal ideas, nascent, nebulous ideas, all right, but at that point in the application process, we were asking for people to submit ideas. But as we went through the evolution over the years, we have completely morphed the program. In the application stage, we do not ask for ideas anymore. What we ask to see is why you want to learn what is being taught here. You do have some interest in entrepreneurship, bringing products to market, taking an idea and developing that into a product, business case, etc. Why do you want to learn that? Can you actually learn this through online learning and so on and so forth? So we kind of changed the application process from submitting ideas and evaluating ideas to submitting kind of like a college essay. And that speaks to what Paolo just explained about, this being primarily a human resource development strategy for Oracle, in that a lot of people who apply for the program actually don't really know how to come up with a good idea before going through at least 3 months of the curriculum, where we teach some of the building blocks of methodology of how to come up with a good idea and how to, flesh out a good idea. So, Paolo, if you want to comment on that, I think it's a very important aspect of how we have evolved the program.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, we evolved the program that way, really making it more of a college essay. It's just we want to assess the motivation of the person, their ability to learn, their willingness to learn, and the willingness to be coached. A lot of people kind of come to the program perhaps with different expectations, and we want to make sure that the expectations are very clear. Now, there are other programs at Oracle that are hackathons, shipping events, and things like that are more, hey, I have an idea and I develop it, right? I start development and building a prototype on that idea. So we really didn't want to, the 1Mby1M program to be, it is complementary, it's not competitive with those ideas, but it's very different. It really is about making sure that people understand what it takes to take a product to market successfully beyond developing a prototype or beyond developing the product technically. Again, as I said, I think there are a lot of people at Oracle know how to develop a product, but the rest of softer skills that we have that are taught through the 1Mby1M program are perhaps a bit more difficult to find or difficult to learn. And so we really wanted to make sure that people had a very clear in their mind that this is what the program is about. It's not about not just start prototyping. It is about what you want to learn, what you want to get out of the program. There's a lot of work that is required in the program. It's not an easy program for people to go through. Now you need to go through the classes, and then you need to do a lot of work to develop your idea, the pitch, and all that. So we also want to make sure that people understand the level of commitment that we expect of them if they decide to participate in the program. So this idea of rather than starting from an idea, starting from an essay, really thought through that, or kind of help people understand that this was a different program. Now we continue to fine-tune the program. Is not like everything else is never finished. So every iteration we do small changes, small tweaks, and so far it's been working very well.
Yeah, and a couple of points on what you said that we should probably also call out. Like there are over 300, 400 hours worth of material, in the curriculum that people have access to, and we want them to at least, do a good 50, 100 hours worth of core curriculum studying in the first 3 months that they are in the program, in the Oracle Entrepreneurship program. And then in that process, we want them to come up with the idea. So the program is split up into quarters. It's a 1-year program that's split up into quarters. In the first quarter that you're in the program, we want you to go really study the core curriculum and come up with an idea. In the second 3-month segment, we want you to flesh out that idea, come up with a validation, some level of competitive analysis, some level of TAM. By the 3rd quarter in the program, we want you to have a pitch ready, a customer pitch and an investor pitch, with the assumption that your investor is Oracle in this case. So Oracle management will start seeing your project once you have all of these pieces in place. You need to have some level of validation, some level of positioning, competitive analysis, TAM assessment, ROI assessment, etc. All of these done in and a pitch that is a more sophisticated pitch. And notice one very important choice we've made in designing this program is there's not one line of code writing in this entire process. It is really teaching business skills as opposed to coding skills. We know you can code. Vast majority of people doing this program are people who already know how to code. So the real offer here is to teach people how to, it's like a mini MBA of how to bring a product to market following entrepreneurial principles. And that's the learning that we are offering here. So Paolo, what about engagement? What are your thoughts? Why is the program so popular? It seems like every time we run an edition of the program, there's a tremendous engagement, tremendous interest, and lots of applications. People are coming to the roundtable. So all through, leading up to each session's application process, there are 6 to 8 weeks of preparation time when we want people from the Oracle organization to come attend the public roundtables of 1Mby1M, these kinds of roundtables, and there is a tremendous number of people who keep coming to these. So what do you think is at the heart of that?
Well, I think that the program is very unique, right? As you said, this is a mini MBA. You learn business skills. There are not that many other learning opportunities within Oracle, or quite frankly, even outside of Oracle, to learn the skills. And so I think that these are skills that people are very interested in. The popularity of entrepreneurship in general, I think, certainly helps, and people want to have those skills, want to have those experiences, want to have that exposure. I also want to say that your reputation also helps, and kind of having a person of your caliber that helps us with this program is important. I think is very appealing for people that when they can learn from somebody that is an industry recognized leader. That is an aspect that is very appealing to people. And also, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Susan Hoffman in my team that does a fantastic job at promoting the program within the company. So I think that these three factors.
Absolutely. I think the duo of Susan Hoffman and Maureen Kelly have really made a massive impact on the success of this program, no question.
Yeah.
So having a good team executing, if you are in the audience listening to this and you're looking at something of equivalent caliber in your organization, the execution team is incredibly important. And I've seen a lot of execution teams not succeed in pulling off something that's scalable and that high impact just because the execution has not been as good. So, Paolo, let's talk about some of the ideas that are coming out of the program. What are some of the ones that you liked, and what can we draw from? What conclusions do we draw from those?
So we've been running this program for 5 years, so there's been a lot of ideas that came through that. A lot of them have been things that I personally liked. Perhaps if I need to mention a few of them, I will start perhaps with one that was from the very, very beginning, and it was an idea that came out of my team, and was strategic network optimization. So strategic network optimization is about using optimization techniques, or if you want, perhaps now artificial intelligence, to determine the most optimal location for spares warehouses, so that you can minimize the number of warehouses and your overall inventory for spares without sacrificing the service level agreements with your customers. So you look at where your customers are, what is their past history of ordering, and you determine where you place the warehouses. So that was a really, really good idea that we actually deployed internally to optimize the warehouses for the Oracle hardware business. And so we really gain a lot of economic benefits out of that idea. Another one that was also particularly interesting, and I remember very well, is the corporate social responsibility. So this came out of an employee based in India that started looking at, had the idea of looking. The Indian government at the time was starting requiring Indian companies to dedicate a certain amount of their revenue to corporate social responsibility initiatives. And so she started with that idea and became a much bigger project than that. It's not that the concept of corporate social responsibility is not limited to India. It is a global issue. And so many companies were interested in that. And that tied very well with the overall human capital management roadmap of the product. And in fact, we have now inserted that idea it became available as part of the HCM product that Oracle offers. So that I would say was a particular success story. The last idea that perhaps I would like to mention is one that has been perhaps more recent and hasn't yet come out of an outcome. It is an idea that I personally really, really like, and I'm trying to push both within my team as well as outside of my organization. And it is about leveraging artificial intelligence for contract setup and generation. So Oracle has a set of products that are about automating the generation of contracts, or sales contracts in particular. And the configuration of those products is extremely expensive. Just to give an order of magnitude, we just not change from one, or we are actually in the process of changing from one generation of those products into the next generation of those products. And I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was like 60 people for 200 days that needed to re-enter the setups for this contract. This was a huge investment to configure this. So the products are extremely powerful because once you have them in place, you can generate all of your sales contracts automatically without any touch. So you can accelerate your deal velocity. You can dramatically reduce your back office cost, but the initial investment is very high. And the idea there was, hey, we have all this history of contracts that Oracle has generated, has approved, that are offered to customers has accepted. can we leverage all that history of transactions to generate an artificial intelligence algorithm or machine learning facility that will actually look at that history to determine whether the next set of contracts can be automated. And so essentially eliminating all of the cost of setting up those contracts. So that is an idea that I think was proposed a few months ago. Now, given that my group is in the midst of this implementation of contracts, I'm actually particularly interested on that product. But I think it has great applicability. I haven't quite been successful yet in finding the right sponsor within the company, but I'm working on it, and I really like that idea.
So this happens quite often, that an idea that that actually comes through the project through the program is well fleshed out, well presented, but doesn't always find an implementation path. But that's okay as far as we are concerned, because the learning that people go through in fleshing out and being ready to present and so forth is the primary goal of the program. So in terms of setting expectations, we try very hard not to set expectations that every project is going to find a path of implementation. There is, as a company the size of Oracle, obviously not every project is going to find an implementation path, but the learning is something that you're going to take away forever.
Yes, absolutely. That is correct, and it is actually a topic that we debate very, very frequently when we review this program, because at times, generally speaking, I think people that go through the program are very satisfied with the learning experience. At times, they get a bit frustrated that their idea, although was well flashed and well developed, doesn't find that home within the company. And from my perspective, that is perfectly okay. Oracle is a very large company, has a huge amount of resources, but does not have enough resources to follow up on every good idea. And so there has to be a selection, and in many cases, the ideas that come up are aligned with certain products that we already have in the market. So they could be perhaps new features for those products, but those product development teams already have a roadmap that is committed because of customer requirements, because of other things, and so they cannot follow up. They need to make choices, and they don't choose the ideas that came out from the program. I think that's okay. It's understandable. People get out of the program the learning, and quite frankly, when you're an entrepreneur and you're pitching to an investor, you also need to learn to accept the rejection. I think it's part of the learning experience as well.
Absolutely. Well, and also I think that there is a leadership identification that's happening through the program. There are people who are self-identifying that, hey, I'm capable of doing something really intense and coming up, fleshing out an idea. I've learned all these skills, and this is probably a very good pool of people that has come together inside Oracle now over the years that are good, can be good product managers, can move from development to becoming product leaders as they go along. So there's a career path shift that's happening also.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that, again, was my primary objective when I started sponsoring the program within the company.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about TAM. So total available market size is a concept that is of immense interest if you are doing entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship, and we have been very, very particular about trying to teach through the program everybody, intrapreneurs, entrepreneurs, everybody. In 1Mby1M TAM holds an incredibly important place. We focus on bottom-up TAM methodology. We teach TAM analysis very rigorously and so forth. Why is the level of TAM so interesting? Can you comment on that, Paolo, from your point of view?
So from my point of view, so let's keep in mind Oracle is a company that has nearly 40 billion in revenue on an annual basis. Now, if you come up with an idea and you eventually want to go and pitch it to an Oracle executive, an Oracle product development executive, and essentially you're asking them to change their product roadmap and shift their investment resources from what they're currently investing into your idea. You need to make sure that your idea is able to move the needle, is able to make a difference for Oracle. Not being an idea that has the potential to be profitable is not enough. Being an idea that has good revenue, but revenue in 1 or 2 millions or 10 millions is probably not good enough to make a difference. I think that what we are mostly interested in is ideas that really can make a difference and that can generate significant amount of revenue for the company. Now, those ideas clearly are very rare to come by, and so there are also that is a challenge. Now, having said all of this, although total addressable market is a very, very important topic and is a very important topic for people to study, to learn how to develop and execute. Now, when we look at products within Oracle, in particular when the products are not that large on their own, like I mentioned before, for example, the corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility perhaps is a very large total addressable market on its own, but when you look at corporate social responsibility within the Oracle context, and within that being one of the product offering in the human capital management product line, from an Oracle perspective, that is perhaps more about thought leadership than anything else, right? Corporate social responsibility offer within that the Oracle might sell to a company is likely to be sold as an add-on in the context of a larger deal, and so perhaps either not heavily discounted or maybe just offer at no additional cost to the customer. So perhaps doesn't generate as much revenue as it would be if it were a standalone startup company that puts that product to market, but it still helps in positioning Oracle as a thought leadership in the industry. And so that is another aspect that is extremely important for us.
So, the venture capital industry is always looking for $1 billion, $5 billion, $10 billion ideas. One thing we observe is that if you are doing a product inside of a company like Oracle, it is not necessary to have that level of TAM always for your product to be interesting or meaningful. So, for example, let's say there is an existing product within human capital management or within warehouse management or logistics, or some product line where there is an existing business. Oracle has an existing business. And what you're bringing through your idea may be a new module that is going to be able to extend the revenue potential and the TAM of that particular segment, that particular product line by another $200, $300 million. That is still of interest because there is a clear go-to-market path, and obviously these kinds of ideas tend to come out of organizations where there's a lot of domain knowledge. So maybe a product, maybe an engineer or a pre-sales person has deep domain knowledge, has experienced, situations within their work of like, oh, here's a problem I see customers facing. Our current product does not address it, and if we flesh this out and see if we can generate another couple of $100 million worth of revenue from developing this product or this module adjacent to what we already have, we could get another chunk of revenue. That kind of ideas are actually very welcome as part of this program.
Yeah, absolutely, and perhaps even a step forward is not just about generating revenue, but is, as I mentioned, is thought leadership with industry analysts, so improving the positioning of an existing product, or
help with winning deals.
Yeah, or increasing customer satisfaction or increasing customer retention, right? Those are all ideas that contribute to any of those factors are very, very interesting in many ways.
So one point we should probably highlight is the intellectual property issue. when you are going through the 1Mby1M program on your own, you own the intellectual property. But of course, this is an Oracle program, or whichever corporate sponsors an intrapreneurship program. I think it's a very reasonable conclusion that the intellectual property belongs to Oracle. So everyone who is learning the 1Mby1M methodology and coming up with an idea through this process, the intellectual property belongs to Oracle.
Yes, absolutely. So this is, it's an Oracle-sponsored program. It is an activity that employees go through as part of their Oracle employment, and so like any other artifact that they do as part of that they produce as part of their Oracle employment, this is not intellectual property owned by Oracle. I think that's totally normal,
fair.
totally acceptable, and totally fair. Now, having said that, people also learn skills that, should they decide to move on from the company, we hope that, and actually part of the program is actually to help people stay within the company and give them new opportunities, and so there is also a retention value for this, employee retention value in this program. But should people decide to move on, which in some cases is inevitable and is totally normal, they have learned skills that they can apply to their next venture, and if they decide to be entrepreneurs rather than employees in an already established company, they certainly can apply the skills that they learn in the program.
The other point is that people are required to do the program outside of their day job as an extracurricular. So the way to think about this here is that, a lot of people do executive MBAs, or, they do all kinds of training on their own time to advance their careers. So this is structured that it's not like you can do it in lieu of a day job. You have to do your day job, and then this is happening on the side, and you're going to have to kind of make time, nights, weekends, and so forth to develop your skills and studying and all of that within this program. So, Paolo, actually, there's one point we should probably discuss before concluding this segment is, when we started working together on this experiment, the only other really well-known corporate innovation / intrapreneurship experiment was Google's flexible time thing, which was a total failure. Why do you think it failed, and what have we done that has been successful? What do you think are some of the decisions we made that worked?
So, quite frankly, I'm not in a position to say whether it failed or why it failed, but I can certainly say why it will not be applicable for us, or why it will not have worked at Oracle, and what we did differently, and why what we did differently is helped, right? As I said, the primary goal here was to allow people to develop skills that they will not normally gain as part of their daily job, right? I think that if we had applied a program, and I actually did it in my initial, on a small scale within my group in my previous time at Oracle, I tried to kind of give people a bit of free time to do whatever they wanted, and that doesn't quite work, because people, if you give people free time to do whatever they want to do, what they end up doing is what they're already able to do. So they are engineers, and they say, oh, I have an idea, let me start coding on this idea. And that is not what we want them to learn. What we want them to learn are skills that they will not already have, and that will not normally gain as part of their daily work. So for that, we need to give them a bit of guidance, or perhaps a structure within a structure for them to follow. So the 1Mby1M program was perfect in that regard. It's really, it has the education component that gives the structure, and then it gives people the hands-on experience of having an idea and developing based on what they learn. So I think that worked very, very well for us because of that element. Not just giving people free time to do whatever they want, doesn't necessarily allow them to learn new things. It kind of encourages them to go deeper, perhaps, or try on their own things that they already know how to do, and that is not what we wanted.
Yeah. The other decision I think we made along the way is to constrain what we encourage them to work on, which I think was also an important decision. We would see, when we were asking for ideas early on, we would see B2C ideas a lot. And we categorically said we're not going to let you work on B2C ideas. You can work on B2C ideas on your own time, but if you want to be part of the Oracle 1Million-by-1Million program, you have to work on a B2B idea, because Oracle is a B2B company. Oracle is not in the business of B2C products.
Correct. And yes, we want ideas that eventually could be applicable to Oracle, and therefore B2B is a requirement. Now, having said that, we also saw some ideas that perhaps started as a B2C idea, and then the participant was able to morph them into a B2B variant of that idea, and that was also very interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah. So as you can see, listeners, we've done a lot of experimentation, and we continue to do a lot of experimentation, and that's been the most fulfilling, deeply fulfilling part of this collaboration, is that we have been very creative, we've been very collaborative, and the spirit of the program has been absolutely fantastic. So, I want to, from the 1Million-by-1Million team, really thank Paolo and Susan and everybody else, the judges who've been participating in judging every session. It's really been a superb collaboration. It's been great pleasure working with all of you. We've all learned. The participants have learned a lot. So thank you for giving us that opportunity and making it all a success.
No, thanks to you. The program has been a great successful and I think that's delivered tremendous value to Oracle. So it's us who need to thank you for what you allow us to do.